Chapter 495. After getting rid of the young gray ape, Sun Shaojin brought Yi Chen and the other two to a stone hall. The hall was extremely vast, dozens of meters tall and 1,000 meters long. There were many stone tables and chairs in the hall, as well as countless colorful fruits. These are the specialties of our water ape mansion. Some of them can replenish physical strength and blood qi. You guys eat as much as you want. Sun Shaojin grabbed a head-sized green fruit and fiercely took a bite. Yi Chen thought for a moment, then said, "Brother Sun, isn't it a bit inappropriate for you to bring us to Water Ape Mansion so casually? Don't worry, you can focus on healing here. No one will disturb you. If you were outside, I can guarantee that you wouldn't live for more than 3 days. Many thanks." Yi Chen cupped his fists. The most important reason why he followed Sun Shaojin to Water Ape Mansion was because his battle strength had been greatly reduced. Not to mention protecting Wang Snake and Wang Mei, he couldn't even protect himself. Moreover, in this boundless ocean, finding a place to cultivate was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Who knew, an ocean beast might tear you apart. Therefore, being a guest in Water Ape Mansion was the best choice. Wang Snake was a pure and honest person. Seeing Sun Shaojin's loyalty, he couldn't help but ask, "Brother Sun, that AO family is the king of demi-beast clans. Aren't you afraid of their revenge?" Sun Shaojin's mouth twitched. "There's no need to worry about this. Their AO family is the overlord of True Spirit Continent. In the boundless ocean, even a dragon would have to coil up, and even a tiger would have to lie down. Although my Water Ape clan is weak, we're a member of the Southern Shallow Ocean Alliance, which has a total of 6 leaders, all of whom are demonic kings. Would their AO family's demonic king dare to come? South Shallow Ocean Alliance. This was the first time Yi Chen had heard of it. Sun Shaojin explained, the 30 million miles of ocean surrounding True Spirit Continent are all shallow oceans, which are divided into the Eastern Shallow Ocean, Southern Shallow Ocean, Western Shallow Ocean, and Northern Shallow Ocean. The Eastern Shallow Ocean has 5 major powers, and the most powerful one is the Dragon God Celestial Palace. The Southern Shallow Ocean has formed a Southern Shallow Ocean Alliance. The Western Shallow Ocean and Northern Shallow Ocean are too chaotic, and the powers are too complicated. Isn't Dragon God Celestial Palace a continent power? Why are you in the Eastern Shallow Sea? Yi Chen raised his brows and asked. The members of Dragon God Celestial Palace are very complicated. There are all kinds of races inside. There are humans, half-beasts, demonic beasts, and demi-giants. The one on True Spirit Continent is only a branch of Dragon God Celestial Palace, and all of them are humans. Of course, this is what my grandfather told me. I see. Yi Chen was enlightened. Speaking of which, Dragon God Celestial Palace is also on the verge of collapse. Previously, Old Dragon King was strong and could suppress the situation. However, his days are numbered. Once he dies, the whole palace will be doomed, and the other 4 forces will definitely rush in. That's right. How many years do you have left, Dragon King? It's hard to say. Some people say that he only has a few years left, and some say that he can live for more than 10 years. Do you know how old the old Dragon King was? He lived for 1,010 years. I really don't know how he broke through the limit of human life and death. It's so strange. Perhaps he took some miraculous medicine to increase his lifespan. Sun Shaojin shook his head. No, 1,000 years is the limit of human kings. They are not like you human Sea of Soul realm experts, who can use some methods to prolong their lifespan. Yi Chen was speechless. It seemed like Dragon God Celestial Palace was not in a good situation. Fortunately, they didn't bring the disaster to South Rudra sect. Otherwise, they would have one more enemy. What's the point of talking about this? It's too far away from us. Wait until I become a beast king, then I'll have the qualifications to stir things up. For now, just stay in the southern shallow ocean. Sun Xiaojin's fighting spirit was restrained in his eyes. After eating dozens of big fruits in a row, Sun Xiaojin stood up and said, "Let's go, I will find a room for you to rest in. After you have rested, you can walk around. If you run into any trouble, just say my name." "Sorry for the trouble." Yi Chen ate 2 fruits and felt much better. He couldn't help but praise the abundant specialties of Water Ape Cave. Even the fruits were spirit medicines. The room Sun Xiaojin spoke of was actually a stone chamber. However, it was very spacious and grand, not the least bit inferior to human buildings. Inside the stone chamber, Yi Chen sized up his surroundings, but his thoughts seemed to have drifted off somewhere. Even if Dragon King is powerful, he can't escape death. Before the rules of heaven and earth, everyone is equal. True Spirit Continent is vast, and the boundless ocean is countless times larger than True Spirit Continent. Just as Sun Xiaojin said, only by becoming a king can one have the qualifications to participate. Otherwise, one's life would be in danger. That's right, Dragon King, you can't escape death. Everyone is equal before the rules of heaven and earth. True Spirit Continent is vast, and the boundless ocean is countless times larger. Just as Sun Xiaojin said, only kings have the qualifications to participate. Become a king. Yi Chen fiercely let out a breath. He had never had such an intense desire to become powerful. In the past, he only wanted to become powerful and improve step by step. But now, he desired to reach a higher level and participate in those magnificent battles. Right now, he was in the chess game, and one day, he would become the player. A week passed by quickly. After a week of bitter training, he had completely purified the impurities in his Jin Yuan, restoring it to its peak state. Not only that, but his undying body had also made a new breakthrough. He had successfully branded the soul imprint on his right leg. Right now, besides his arms and head, the first layer of the undying body, flesh recovery, was almost 80% complete. It was a godly improvement. "Yi Chen, are you there?" Sun Xiaojin's voice came from outside. Yi Chen tidied up his clothes and walked out. "Brother Sun, what's the matter?" "My grandfather wants to see you." "Your grandfather is the leader of Water Ape Clan?" "Yes, follow me." "All right." Passing through a huge stone corridor and the lobby, Yi Chen followed Sun Xiaojin to the back of the lobby. Behind the lobby was a huge lake with a few thousand meters long arch bridge. If one looked carefully, they would be able to see some horrifying fish-type demonic beasts in the lake. These fish-type demonic beasts had red eyes, as if they had just drunk blood. Walking on the arch bridge, Sun Xiaojin said, "My grandfather is a half-step beast king. But, you do not need to be too cautious. Our Water Ape Clan has very few rules." Yi Chen nodded. Up until now, he had met 4 king warriors in total, the Dragon King, the Black Thunder King, the Beast King, and the Shining King. As for the mysterious queen he met in the parallel space battlefield, it was only a projection of her willpower, not her real body. At the end of the arch bridge was a stone palace. The two stopped in front of the palace. "Grandpa, I have brought the people," Sun Xiaojin said loudly. "Both of you, come in." A deep and slightly aged voice rang out. Hearing this, Yi Chen and Sun Xiaojin stepped into the palace. The palace was spacious, and a tall human figure was sitting on the main seat. Judging by the naked eye, the figure was 3 meters tall even when sitting, and at least 5 meters tall when standing up. Raising his head, Yi Chen looked at the leader of the Water Ape Clan. The leader of the Water Ape Clan was even more similar to a human than he had imagined. Apart from his larger body, longer tusks, and thicker hair on his arms and legs, he was no different from a human. His face still had some wrinkles, and his ruddy face had a steel-like luster. "So, you are Yi Chen." The leader of the Water Ape Clan smiled. Yi Chen bowed and cupped his fists. "Yi Chen greets the leader." No need to be so polite. I don't like it. My real name is Sun Tai. You can just call me Senior Sunday. The leader of the Water Ape clan seemed to care a lot about Yi Chen. If it were someone else, he wouldn't have told him his real name. After all, how could a senior tell a junior his name? In fact, even Sun Xiaojin was quite surprised, not knowing what his grandpa was thinking. Hearing this, Yi Chen said, "Senior Sunday. All right, sit down. Let's have a good chat." Sun Tai laughed heartily. Yi Chen sat down next to Sun Xiaojin as he was told. "I heard that you were chased by the AO family to the boundless ocean. What happened exactly?" Sun Tai asked some irrelevant questions. "The AO family annihilated the clans of my two friends. Yi Chen couldn't bear to see them die, so he brought them and fled to the boundless ocean." Yi Chen briefly explained the cause and course of events. Sun Tai faintly nodded. "I can tell that your relationship with these two friends of yours isn't very deep. To think that you didn't abandon them at the critical moment, and even brought them to the boundless ocean from True Spirit Continent. This is enough to prove your character. My Water Ape clan values loyalty the most. From now on, the Water Ape clan will be your home. You can come and go as you please." Hearing Sun Tai's words, Yi Chen was quite astonished. What virtue or ability did he have to be valued so highly by the leader of the Water Ape clan? This was simply beyond his imagination. My Water Ape clan has existed since the Middle Ages. Even the lowest aptitude in our clan is mid-grade. The best aptitude is me and Xiaojin, both of us upper-grade aptitude. Perhaps you don't know much about the aptitude grades of demonic beasts. To put it simply, the majority of the demonic beasts you see on the continent are all lower-grade aptitude with little potential. Those that can reach mid-grade aptitude usually have a trace of ancient demonic beasts' bloodline, and have hopes of becoming 9th-grade demonic beasts, or even 10th-grade demonic beasts. Upper-grade aptitude is a branch of ancient powerful demonic beasts. Upon reaching adulthood, they can become 9th-grade demonic beasts, and their chances of becoming demonic kings are also very high. Your two friends have the bloodline of 9-headed serpent, which is the same as us, upper-grade aptitude. Of course, 9-headed serpents are at the peak of upper-grade aptitude, much stronger than us. Otherwise, they wouldn't have become peerless demonic kings. Pausing for a moment, Sun Tai continued, "Perhaps you're wondering why I'm so close to you?" Yi Chen wanted to know the reason as well. "Our Water Ape clan doesn't lie. From the moment you entered the Water Ape cave, I've sensed your existence. You have the aura of a true dragon on your body, and you have a huge potential. Along with that, you also have a sky-piercing sword intent. It's a miracle for such a sword intent to appear at your current realm. Right now, there are signs that the world is going to be in chaos. Our Water Ape clan can't stay out of it, and we can't stay out of it either. Befriending a true dragon-level genius is a very important thing for our Water Ape clan. I believe you've already experienced such a thing before." Sun Tai was very honest, not hiding anything. Yi Chen remained silent. He had indeed experienced such a thing before. The Dragon King and Xianhou both had high expectations for him. But, nothing could happen without a reason. It was impossible for them to look forward to you and take care of you for no reason. You were not the son of heaven, so why would others treat you well? Therefore, there must be a reason for them to treat you well. If he wanted others to continue treating him well, then he would have to show that he was more talented than the others. Otherwise, he didn't believe that the Dragon King would take care of him and look forward to him like this. After all, they didn't have any relationship at all. You won't feel uncomfortable hearing me say this, right? Sun Tai looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen shook his head and said with a smile, "It seems that I and the Water Ape clan are quite congenial. I like to be straightforward, and not fake." "Good." Sun Tai admired Yi Chen very much. In fact, he admired him even more than before. Tomorrow, He would have to wake up at 5 o'clock and go out to do some errands. Chapter 496. Senior son, I have a favor to ask. As they chatted happily, Yi Chen suddenly thought of something. What is it? If I can help, Sun Tai, will definitely help. Those two friends of mine. I wonder if they can stay in the water ape cave. They are being chased by the AO family, and I cannot protect them by myself. Of course, if they bring trouble to the water ape race, I will think of something else. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen said what he was thinking. Wang Snake and Wang Mei were way too weak compared to him, and they would only be a burden if he brought them along. For example, if it were not for them, Yi Chen would not have to run so hard. If he could not beat them, he could easily run away. If it were a head-on battle, he would definitely be able to wound one or two of them badly before leaving. Sun Tai laughed, I thought it was something serious. Alright, don't worry. They will be very happy in my water ape cave. As for trouble, I am not afraid of it. Even if it is that demi-beast king from the AO family, I am confident that I can exchange 100 or 200 attacks with him. Thank you so much. Yi Chen felt a lot more relaxed. With the two extra people around him, he felt like he could not use all of his power. Oh right, here are 5 spirit power stones. I found them on a human life and death realm warrior's body by chance. They are useless to us water ape race, so I will give them to you. Sun Tai pushed out his palm slightly, and 10 red light spots shot toward Yi Chen. Waving his hand in a semicircle, Yi Chen collected the red light spots. Looking at them closely, he realized that these 10 red spirit power stones were all thumb-sized. They were crystal clear and had a rich energy. Most importantly, they were not like the spirit power stones from the parallel space battlefields. The essence inside them had not been lost, but they were much heavier. This. Yi Chen lifted up his head to look at Sun Tai. This gift was way too expensive. Sun Tai shook his head, trying to tie you to the chariot with only one sentence. Our water ape race would not do such a thing. If there is an investment, there will be a return. This is our principle. Thank you, Senior Sunday. In the future, Yi Chen will be a solid ally of our water ape race. Right now, Yi Chen is not qualified yet. Yi Chen said from the bottom of his heart. After discussing business, the three of them chatted about some trivial matters until late at night. For the next half a month, Yi Chen continued to absorb the spiritual energy from the crystals. Unlike the last time, the spiritual energy contained in the crystals was several times purer than before, and it was also several times more difficult to absorb. Every time he absorbed a crystal, Yi Chen had to spend 2 days to consolidate it before he continued to absorb the second, third. Half a month later, Yi Chen's body ignited with a red qi flow. The qi flow seemed to have a mind of its own as it crazily shuttled through Yi Chen's body. Flesh, blood, bones, marrow, they were everywhere. As the qi flow penetrated and vibrated, Yi Chen could feel some impurities that were preventing his body from reaching perfection being expelled and crushed. His entire body seemed to be on the verge of awakening, full of vitality. This smell is a little fishy. Opening his eyes, Yi Chen felt sticky all over his body. He took off his clothes and saw that his skin was covered with a layer of oil. This oil did not have any harmful effect on a warrior's Xinyuan cultivation, but it was an obstacle for a warrior to cultivate a spirit body, and it was very hard to get rid of it. There was a bath in the stone room, and the water in the bath was circulating. Jumping into the bath, Yi Chen could not help but moan as his eyebrows relaxed. The 5 crystals that Senior Sun gave me contain a huge amount of spiritual energy essence, which is even more precious than the 50 crystals in the parallel space battlefield. Thanks to Senior Sun, I have already cultivated my spirit body to 99%. I only need to spend a little more time to consolidate my spiritual energy, and then I can officially cultivate it. Clenching his fists, Yi Chen punched the stone wall in front of him. Pooh! The surface of the stone wall seemed to have turned into powder as it slid down. If people with good eyesight were here, they would be able to tell that Yi Chen did not use any of his Jin Yuan, will power, or power. In fact, the power contained in that punch would not even be able to beat down a kid, because there was no power in it at all. But even in this kind of situation, Yi Chen was still able to break the surface of the stone wall. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as Yi Chen thought to himself, the gate between the astral reaching realm and the Sea of Souls realm is called the Mortal Transformation Gate. Once the spirit body is formed, it means that one has passed half of the Mortal Transformation Gate. Then, one's body would be like a great weapon, containing a bit of power. With only this power, one would be able to create damage. The advantage of cultivating the spirit body before the Sea of Souls realm is that the total amount of Jin Yuan would no longer be limited, and there would be more room for improvement. Before, when I trained my Green Lotus Sword spell to the 14th level, it only made my Jin Yuan a lot purer, but the total amount did not change. But now, it is different. The total amount of Jin Yuan is slowly increasing, and it is approaching the limit of the 14th level of the Green Lotus Sword spell. Of course, I have not officially cultivated the spirit body yet, so the effect is still 20 to 30% weaker. After cleaning up the dirt on his body, Yi Chen walked out of the bath and changed into clean clothes. On the second day, the cultivation speed of the undying body has increased. What is going on? As usual, Yi Chen continued to cultivate the undying body. However, today's cultivation speed surprised him quite a bit. This kind of speed was not much slower than when he was in danger. It had only been half a day, and Yi Chen could feel that his right arm was about to be branded with the soul mark. Is it because of my body? Apart from cultivating the spirit body, Yi Chen's body hadn't experienced any changes lately. Therefore, he immediately found the most likely reason. It was known to all that only life and death realm warriors could comprehend the undying body. Although the first level of the undying body that Yi Chen had obtained was flesh healing, which was one level weaker than limb regrowth, it was still extremely difficult. He would need to reach the Sea of Souls realm at least to cultivate it properly. The question was, why did he have to reach the Sea of Souls realm? There were a few gaps between the Sea of Souls realm and the astral reaching realm, the soul gap, the Zhen Yuan gap, and the physical gap. Cultivating the undying body required the body to be branded with the soul mark. Therefore, the soul and the body were especially important. And Yi Chen's soul was his advantage, which was no weaker than the majority of Sea of Souls realm warriors. In other words, what Yi Chen lacked was the body. Now that his body was about to be replenished, the cultivation speed of the undying body would naturally increase. I see. Finding the reason, Yi Chen's face revealed a joyful expression. The spirit body was only one step away from completion, and the flesh healing was also just a little bit away. If he succeeded in both, even if his power didn't seem to have made any progress, his ability to protect himself would increase by 10 times. If he encountered an opponent at the same level, the one who would die would be the opponent, and not him. 1 against 2, 1 against 3, would not be a problem at all. Time flew, and another half a month passed in a flash. Who? An astonishing soul ripple appeared on Yi Chen's body. The soul ripple was exceptionally complete, covering his whole body. Meanwhile, Yi Chen's aura seemed to be pulled by an invisible thread, which moved his whole body without any loopholes. The first level of flesh healing has finally been completed. Opening his eyes, the first thing that Yi Chen did was to take out a dagger and stab it into his chest. Pooh! Fresh blood blossomed and splashed out. In the next second, the blood that contained the soul ripple flowed back into his body, and the wound on his chest quickly healed. Touching his chest, Yi Chen didn't feel anything strange at all. Flesh healing. I didn't expect that I could complete it so quickly. I thought it would take me a couple of years. When he got the cultivation method of the immortal body, Yi Chen had already prepared himself mentally. No matter how hard it would be, he would continue to cultivate it. Completing it within 2 to 3 months was definitely a pleasant surprise. Phew! Letting out a long breath, Yi Chen mumbled to himself, the second level of the immortal body is to regrow broken limbs. I don't dare to think about it for now. It's good that I don't have to spend so much time cultivating the immortal body, and I can spend more time improving other aspects. 3,000 miles away from the water ape's cave, the seawater was pitch black, and one couldn't even see their own fingers. Deep under the sea, there was a faint light flickering. It was a kind of glowing crystal coral. Floating in the seawater, one couldn't see the sky or the ground. In such an environment, it was easy to develop feelings of despair and pessimism. It was like being isolated from the world, and all 5 senses had lost their function. Only the soul was left to question itself. Closing his eyes tightly, Yi Chen flicked his finger on the long emerald sword. Ting! The metallic sound lingered in his ears, and it seemed to contain some kind of mystery. What is that sound? Who dares to cause trouble in my, Pang Sa's, territory? There were many vassal beasts around the water ape's cave, and the rank 9 green pincer crab was one of them. The green pincer crab had always been tyrannical. Relying on its high defense and close combat ability, it didn't care about other beasts. Only the water ape in the water ape's cave could control it. Therefore, when it heard that someone dared to cause trouble in its territory, it was very angry. Pop! Moving its 8 legs quickly, the green pincer crab followed the sound and dashed out. Soon, the green pincer crab saw the culprit. It was a human in blue, and the source of the sound was his sword. The green pincer crab's finger tapped on it, and the sword vibrated. The sound spread out in all directions. The green pincer crab didn't know how to speak, so it could only wave its huge green pincer to create the rumbling sound of water to warn the other party. Bastard! How dare you ignore me? Seeing that Yi Chen still had his eyes closed and was still flicking the sword, the green pincer crab was so angry that it spat out a powerful water current. Yi Chen, who had his eyes closed, moved his left foot slightly, avoiding the water current. The green pincer crab was just about to rush up and cut the other party into pieces when Yi Chen suddenly opened his eyes. As he opened his eyes, 2 beams of light red light shot out, lighting up a large area of seawater. Cut! Holding the sword high with both hands, the sword first shone with a green light, then a golden light. The green light and the golden light intertwined, and the seawater within 10 meters was immediately squeezed out, forming a spherical vacuum. Inside the vacuum, Yi Chen hacked down heavily. Boom! The seawater was stirred up, and a dazzling beam of sword light radiated out, spreading to an unknown distance. In silence, the seawater was separated by 100 meters, like a deep chasm. The green pincer crab on the side was shaken several miles away. It was dumbfounded, and its huge green pincer drooped down. Its eyes were full of fear and fear. If it had rushed up carelessly, there wouldn't have been anything left of it. The green pincer crab thought to itself. Putting the long sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen did not look at the green pincer crab as he thought to himself, after a week, my gold resonant radiance sword art has finally been trained to 50%, and its power has increased by 50%. Now, it's time to move on to the gold profound. After staying in the water ape's cave for more than a month, Yi Chen had made a lot of progress. First, he had trained his spirit body to 99%, and he was only 1 step away from completing it. Then, he had trained his gold resonant radiance sword art to 50% as well, which was almost an improvement in every aspect. Shoo! Turning around, Yi Chen flew toward the direction of the water ape's cave. He is gone. The green pincer crab let out a breath and hurried back to its cave. It thought that Yi Chen must have forgotten about its existence, and once the latter remembered, it would be doomed. So, it had to leave as soon as possible and not give the latter any chance. Chapter 497. Back in the cave, Yi Chen came to the stone room. There were a lot of water apes gathered in the hall. These water apes had gray fur and red pupils. Every one of them was 2 to 3 meters tall, and a few of them were even more than 4 meters tall, second only to the leader of the water ape race, Sun Tai. Judging from their aura, these 4 meters tall water apes were all rank 10 beasts. Yi Chen, us beasts are not as good as you humans in terms of martial arts. It is extremely hard for us to learn the mentality. You are a genius among humans, so you should be very good at this. Do you have the guts to compete with me, Kong Xiaohui? A young rank 8 water ape walked out. Yi Chen knew that he did not mean any harm, but his rank was too low. He said, although we are at the same rank, you will not be my opponent. Do not underestimate me. Us water apes are not normal beasts. Our talents are all above the mid-rank. Those low-rank beasts cannot compete with us. The young water ape was a bit angry. If that is the case, then bring it on. Other than having a bad temper, water apes were also stubborn. There was no point in talking anymore, so Yi Chen had to let him know the gap between them. On the empty ground outside of the room, Yi Chen and the young water ape stood 100 meters away from each other, surrounded by a large number of other water apes. They were chatting and whispering to each other. Who do you guys think will win, Xiaohui or Yi Chen? Of course, it would be Xiaohui. Battling at the same level, the beasts usually have the advantage. Even if Yi Chen is a martial genius among humans, Xiaohui is also a martial genius of our water ape race. Plus, our water apes are all mid-rank. Hard to say. We will not know until we fight. The battle is about to begin. Hearing this, the other water apes all quieted down. Take this. His gray fur danced in the air as Kong Xiaohui raised his bull-sized fist and rushed out like an arrow, throwing a punch at Yi Chen. As this punch was thrown out, a large amount of water yuan qi gathered over, turning into streams of water that swirled around Kong Xiaohui's fist crazily. A powerful beast power vibration exploded. Back out. Yi Chen did not move his body. He put up his right index and middle fingers and pointed at Kong Xiaohui's fist. Bang! The water exploded, and Kong Xiaohui was sent flying backward. Much of his gray hair was cut off by the invisible sword qi, and his hair flew everywhere. Damn it, big. Kong Xiaohui's face turned purple, and his 2.5-meter-tall body suddenly expanded to 25 meters tall, then 250 meters tall. His crimson eyes shot out 2 beams of light, like 2 searchlights, and his nostrils blew out like a whirlwind. Take another punch from me. Kong Xiaohui did not need to move at all. He simply stood on the spot and punched out. His arm, which was over 100 meters long, crossed the distance between the two of them and instantly arrived before Yi Chen. What was even more terrifying was that in battle, the water ape's demonic energy multiplied. The tip of his fist was filled with water and lightning, like a series of exploding fireworks. Kong Xiaohui didn't need to move, and neither did Yi Chen. He pointed his finger at the center of Kong Xiaohui's fist. Roar! The sound of a sword ringing could be heard. All the water apes could clearly see a huge illusory sword condensed on top of Yi Chen's sword fingers. The next second, the water current and lightning on Kong Xiaohui's fist were directly shaved off, and the gray hair on his entire arm was also shaved off, leaving him bald. Then, he was sent flying backwards, crashing into a mountain. Gasp! The sound of people gasping was heard, and all the water apes looked shocked. Kong Xiaohui was a peak-level 8 water ape, while Yi Chen was a peak-level astral-reaching realm warrior. The two were at the same level, but their battling power was worlds apart. Kong Xiaohui couldn't even handle one-finger sword attack from Yi Chen. Yi Chen, Kong Dalai, would like to see what you can do. Kong Xiaohui was already one of the top geniuses among the rank 8 water apes. If even he couldn't handle one attack from Yi Chen, then it would be embarrassing for the others. Therefore, no rank 8 water ape stood out. Instead, it was a rank 9 water ape. He had changed into his battle mode right from the start, reaching 2,800 meters tall. His eyes were like stars. Besides not being as aggressive as Sun Xiaojin, his aura was not bad either. Don't worry. The water ape cave has a restrictive power covering it. You and I can fight as much as we want. Calm Dalei looked down at Yi Chen. Yi Chen held his sword handle and said, "No need for all this trouble. If you can handle this sword attack of mine, then I will lose." The water ape race had always been straightforward, and Yi Chen didn't beat around the bush either. Too arrogant. Let's see how I, Calm Dalei, beat you. Calm Dalei crossed his arms, and suddenly pulled them apart. A violent demonic power surged out, and all the gray fur on his body stood erect. His entire ape body seemed to have swelled up a lot. It could no longer be described as awe-inspiring, but rather terrifying, just like a berserk beast. Ape Roar Bomb. Opening his bloody mouth, Calm Dalei shot out a bright light wave at Yi Chen. It was crystal clear, and the energy was highly concentrated. Shoo! Yi Chen's body kept moving. He took a step forward, crossing the light wave and arriving above Calm Dalei's head. Amaranthan nature. The emerald longsword was taken out of its scabbard. A flame-like blue light gathered on the tip of the sword as it stabbed onto Calm Dalei's forehead. Pop! The sword tip did not manage to stab through, but the attacking power was endless. No matter how much beast power Calm Dalei used, it was still useless. His huge ape body rolled a couple of times on the ground, and a huge amount of hair on his forehead had been shaved off. Putting the sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen's body flashed once before returning to where he was standing. Is this guy really a human? He beat Dalei beyond his realm. This is so horrifying. It seems like among the young generation of our water ape race, only Xiaojin could beat him. The others would not be able to do so. Yeah. Once Xiaojin turns into his battling mode, he would be invincible within the same realm. But, he has not reached the Sea of Souls realm yet. Once he becomes a Sea of Souls realm warrior, I wonder how powerful he would be. Yi Chen's power had shocked all of the water apes. In their minds, human beings had always been relatively weak, and their Jin Yuan was extremely thin. Of course, the purification effect of human martial arts was also horrifying. Jin Yuan was many times purer than their beast power, which made up for some of the disadvantages. However, the difference in quantity was still too huge. What are you guys doing? Sun Xiaojin, who was not the tallest but had a horrifying aggressive aura, walked over. Xiaojin, this Yi Chen is more powerful than we thought. Why don't you show your power as well? A young water ape tried to encourage Sun Xiaojin. Sun Xiaojin rolled his eyes, idiot. Of course, he is powerful. Otherwise, how could Grandpa pick him? Show me some power. Which one of you can take one stick attack from me? Yi Chen. Ha! My cultivation is one realm higher than his. Even if I win, it would not be a good thing. Wait until he becomes a Sea of Souls realm warrior, then I will battle with him, but not now. Hearing him, all of the young water apes were disappointed. Sun Xiaojin was proud, and it would be impossible for him to battle with Yi Chen, who was one realm lower than him. Yi Chen forced a smile and said, I am not Brother Sun's opponent. There is no doubt about it. Battling with a higher realm would also depend on the opponent. Sun Xiaojin had top-rank potential, and when he changed into his battle mode, he had wounded 4 Sea of Souls realm demi-beasts with one punch. And it was still under the condition that he had not used all of his power. No matter how arrogant Yi Chen was, he had to admit that he was not Sun Xiaojin's opponent at all. Yi Chen, come with me. I will take you to a good training place. Sun Xiaojin suddenly said. What place? Follow me and you will know. All right. Yi Chen nodded and followed Sun Xiaojin out of the water ape cave. After leaving the water ape cave, the two broke out of the water and flew toward the northwest direction. After flying for hundreds of thousands of miles, the two arrived at an ocean with a creepy aura. The environment of this ocean was extremely bad, and there were countless deep ocean swirls on the surface of the ocean. They varied in size, with the biggest ones being hundreds of kilometers in size while the smallest ones were only dozens of meters in size. In the sky, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The tornado brought up water columns, shooting up into the sky. That horrifying tearing power could definitely tear a normal astral-reaching realm warrior into pieces. Let's go down. Waving his stick, Sun Xiaojin shattered a few miles thick water column and jumped into the ocean. Yi Chen followed him without hesitation. The undercurrents in the ocean were extremely turbulent, especially those swirls. Each of them had a horrifying suction power. Even a huge beast that was very far away had been dragged in and turned into meat paste. As the depth increased, the swirls got thinner and more condensed. They were completely transparent, like crystals. Yi Chen suspected that the swirls here could already kill Sea of Souls realm warriors and rank 9 beasts. Yi Chen's guess was not wrong. Sun Xiaojin warned, "Be careful of those swirls. Even I cannot guarantee that I will be unscathed after entering. Some of the mutated swirls are even more powerful, and the Yuan Qi inside has already been compressed into a solid state." "Brother Sun, where are we going?" Yi Chen asked. Sun Xiaojin said, "Have you ever heard of the undersea spiral tunnel?" "Nope. To put it simply, the undersea spiral tunnel can help you increase your martial art realm faster. The deeper you go, the more pressure you will face. Up until now, no one has ever been to the bottom, including king warriors. I heard that there is some kind of horrifying thing sealed inside. I wonder if it is true or not." Soon, the two arrived at the bottom of the ocean. In front of them was a gray light cover that had a diameter of hundreds of miles. There were a lot of beasts and humans standing inside. The South Shallow Sea Alliance has 6 leaders. 2 of them are humans, the Fierce Ocean King and the Blue Silver King. The martial institutions they lead are the Fierce Ocean School and the Silver Light Island. These people are all disciples of the latter. Sun Xiaojin introduced. Yi Chen had a weird expression on his face. It was his first time seeing so many people and so many beasts living together peacefully. Indeed, there was nothing impossible in this world. It is Sun Xiaojin from the water ape race. Who is that human right next to him? Being able to walk together with Sun Xiaojin, he must not be simple. Sun Xiaojin seemed to be quite famous. Before he had even arrived, he had already attracted a lot of attention. Even Yi Chen was being watched. In the human camp, there were also a lot of gazes that landed on Sun Xiaojin and Yi Chen. Seeing that Sun Xiaojin and Yi Chen were so close, they could not help but feel a bit jealous. Seeing this, Yi Chen rubbed his nose and looked at Sun Xiaojin, who was full of killing intent. His charm was way too great, and these humans were actually jealous of him. Chapter 498. In fact, it was not because of Sun Xiaojin's charm, but because of his great potential. All of the powerful parties in the South Shallow Sea Alliance had one requirement for their disciples, which was to avoid conflict with Sun Xiaojin as much as possible. If they could become normal friends with Sun Xiaojin, the power of the sect would focus on training them regardless of their potential. If they could become good friends with Sun Xiaojin, they would go from focusing on training to all-out training, regardless of the cost. Even if they were rotten wood, they would make sure that they could be gilded. Of course, to be able to become friends with Sun Xiaojin, even if it was just a normal friend, their strength would not be too low. Otherwise, the two would not even have a place to interact, let alone become friends. And the reason for all of this was Sun Xiaojin's potential. Top-rank potential was extremely rare even in the ancient era. According to the probability, out of 10 top-ranked demonic beasts, at least 5 would be able to become demonic kings. In the water ape race, Sun Tai and Sun Xiaojin both had top-rank potential. Without any surprises, one of them would become demonic kings, or even both of them would become demonic kings. If that were the case, the big parties in the South Shallow Sea Alliance would not pay so much attention to Sun Xiaojin. Inside Sun Xiaojin's body, besides the water ape bloodline, there was an even more noble bloodline called the red gold ape bloodline. It was one of the top ancient demonic beast bloodlines. Therefore, once Sun Xiaojin became a demonic king, he would completely activate the red gold evil ape bloodline and become a powerful demonic king. A powerful demonic king meant too much. After all, even king warriors had different levels of power. Top king warriors were way more powerful than normal king warriors in terms of power and deterrence. The best example would be the dragon god celestial palace in the East Shallow Sea. With the power of the old dragon king alone, the other 4 powerful parties did not even dare to think about it. All these years, they had been waiting for the old dragon king's life to run out. Sun Xiaojin did not even look at the crowd as he led Yi Chen toward the palace in the center of the light cover. The palace was deep and spacious, and its color was ancient blue. In the center of the palace, there was an octagonal platform. On each of the 8 sides of the platform, there was a stone tablet. The first stone tablet had the word sky, the second earth, the third mountain, followed by lake, thunder, wind, water, and fire. The stone tablets were extremely ancient, emitting a vast aura. The 8 stone tablets combined together seemed to be able to suppress everything. Sun Xiaojin pointed at the circular hole in the middle of the platform and said, "This is the undersea spiral tunnel. This is your first time here, so you should train on the 7th floor. If you go any further down, you will feel extremely uncomfortable, and it will be hard for you to calm down and train. As for training inside, you do not need to worry about people plotting against you. No one would dare to attack you inside the tunnel. 7th floor. What are the requirements for the people who enter the tunnel? Normally, the higher your power, the deeper you will be able to go. However, this is only for us beasts. You humans can use martial arts to increase your power, but under the same cultivation, you will not be able to go as deep as us beasts. The pressure of the tunnel will affect 3 aspects, the willpower, the Zhenyuan, and the body. Your willpower is very powerful, and your Zhenyuan is also very pure. However, the total amount is too little, which will cause your body to be under even more pressure. Once your body cannot handle it anymore, you will not be able to go any further, and you will have to stop immediately. Let's go down then. Yi Chen also wanted to try out the mysteries of the tunnel. Let's go. Sun Xiaojin walked onto the platform and arrived at the entrance of the tunnel. It was a spiral staircase. The hole was 20 meters in diameter, and the staircase was 9 meters wide. Near the wall of the staircase, there were rooms that were 3 meters wide. Therefore, the staircase that could be walked on was only 6 meters wide. The 2 followed the staircase and started to go down. 1st floor. 2nd floor. 7th floor. Sun Xiaojin was a bit surprised. He thought that the 7th floor would be Yi Chen's limit. He did not expect that he would be fine without any change in his expression. 8th floor. 9th floor. 13th floor. It seems like I have underestimated you. It was the first time that Sun Xiaojin had seen an astral reaching realm warrior reach the 13th floor. In the past, no one had even reached the 7th floor. Yi Chen said, "In terms of Zhenyuan and body, I do not have much of an advantage. But, my willpower is more than enough to make up for it and surpass it." Willpower? Interesting. Those who walk on willpower will basically become top warriors. You are qualified to be my rival in the future. There were not many people who could get Sun Xiaojin's approval. In other words, Yi Chen had made Sun Xiaojin feel threatened. It was the kind of threat that he did not have much confidence in winning against Yi Chen at the same level. After reaching the 15th floor, Yi Chen finally felt that he had reached his limit. In terms of willpower, he could handle it easily, but his Jinyuan and body could not handle any more pressure. Even if his willpower had cancelled out a part of it, he would not be able to avoid it. "Brother Sun, I will train here." Under the invisible pressure, even Yi Chen found it difficult to speak. Sun Shaojin nodded. His tall and sturdy body continued to walk down. Soon, he disappeared on the next floor. Retracting his gaze, Yi Chen was about to let out a breath to relieve the pressure. But, just as he opened his mouth, he closed it immediately. He was afraid that if he let out a breath, it would cause an imbalance between the pressure inside and outside, which would cause his chest bones to collapse and cause serious injuries. "I should still be careful." Arriving at the door of the room next to him, Yi Chen opened the door and walked in. The room was neither too big nor too small, 3 meters in both width and length. There was only a cushion on the floor, and nothing else. Sitting on the cushion with his legs crossed, Yi Chen closed his eyes and entered the training mode. So slow. In the past, once Yi Chen activated his martial art, his Jinyuan would circulate at a high speed like a rushing river. But, in the tunnel, the Jinyuan circulation speed was reduced by 10 times. Every step forward was extremely difficult, as if there was a mountain inside. "My body is at its limit, and so is my Jinyuan. Fortunately, my willpower is more than enough. Otherwise, training here would not be worth it, and it would be hard to concentrate." Yi Chen had a preliminary understanding of the underwater tunnel's function. It was to use the pressure to push one to their limit, allowing them to improve even faster. Of course, too much pressure was not a good thing, since a person's potential could not be forced out all of a sudden. If one could not even move his mind, then there would be no training at all. There had to be a limit, and that limit would have to be controlled by oneself. Soon, Yi Chen realized that the slow circulation speed of Jinyuan was not a bad thing. Sometimes, if the circulation speed was too fast, it would be easy to miss out on the details. But now that it had slowed down, Yi Chen had a new understanding of the Green Lotus Sword spell. He could clearly see the minute changes when the Jinyuan was circulating. Every meridian it passed through actually had a slight difference. When the Jinyuan passes through this meridian, it will produce a slow acceleration effect. The inner wall of this meridian is not smooth, which causes the Jinyuan to vibrate. After 1 month, Yi Chen had actually trained to the peak of the 14th realm of the Green Lotus Sword spell, and had made 2 breakthroughs. It should be known that there were 5 breakthroughs from the peak of the 14th realm to the 15th realm. Making 2 breakthroughs was definitely unexpected. Normally, when most people came to the underwater tunnel, they would be able to train faster. However, Yi Chen's willpower was just too powerful. He was only at the peak of late astral reaching realm, but he had the master-level sword intent. This kind of willpower had allowed him to perform extremely well under extreme pressure. Most importantly, even if other people had the master-level sword intent at the peak of late astral reaching realm, they would still not be able to compete with Yi Chen. They would at most be able to double the effect. But, it should not be forgotten that Yi Chen's master-level sword intent was based on his extremely powerful soul. With a powerful soul, his sword intent would be even more powerful, which would give him endless motivation. In other words, when battling with the same level of sword intent, Yi Chen would be able to last longer than anyone else, maybe even 10 times longer. Yi Chen did not even know where the limit of his soul was, because only after reaching the Sea of Souls realm would he be able to fully use his soul power. Right now, Yi Chen was only guessing. The first 2 breakthroughs were easy to make, but the latter 3 would be much more difficult. However, after 2 months, Yi Chen had still managed to reach the 15th realm of the Green Lotus Sword spell, which was the highest realm. Once he reached the 15th realm, Yi Chen felt the pressure around him lighten up. His whole body felt light, as if he could float in the air. Inside his dantian, on top of the blue lotus, countless Lotus Heart Sword Chi started to appear. 1, 2, 10, 20, 99, 99 Lotus Heart Sword Chi appeared in total. But, Yi Chen knew that this was only the number on the surface. Every time he used up a Lotus Heart Sword Chi, a new one would be born. As long as his Jin Yuan was not completely used up, the Lotus Heart Sword Chi would be endless, and it would be able to burst out a Sword Chi tornado. Doubled. My battling power has doubled again. Yi Chen, who was always calm, could not help but feel his blood boiling. At his level, the meaning of having his battling power doubled was obvious. Before, his limit was the battle power of a soul warrior. But now, he could completely compete with spirit warriors, and even kill normal spirit warriors. This Green Lotus Sword spell is so powerful. Out of the 99 Lotus Heart Sword Chi, even if only 10 of them could be used at the same time, it would be enough to shock the world. After all, each Lotus Heart Sword Chi has a power close to the amaranthine nature. If 10 of them were to be used at the same time, who in the same realm would be able to block it? It turns out that the power of the soul has just been revealed. Before, I had buried the advantage of the soul power. All this time, Yi Chen had only been training normally, using the comprehensive ability of the soul power. But now, he finally understood that under normal circumstances, the effect of the soul power could not be shown at all. Why did his immortal body training speed increase when he was being chased by the 4 Sea of Souls realm demi-beasts from the AO family? And why did his training speed increase when he was under the pressure in the underwater tunnel? It was all because of the pressure, because only pressure could bring out the real advantage of the soul power. Before, he could only use 20 to 30% of his soul power. But now, thinking about it, he realized that it was such a waste of resources. The more pressure there is, the more potential I have. I am still far from reaching my limit. But, once I understand the advantage of the soul power, it means that the future will not be peaceful anymore. How could normal training create pressure? Hee. Forcing a smile, Yi Chen thought to himself, doesn't this mean that I am the reason for the chaos in this era? I am one of the reasons for the chaos in this world. Yi Chen had never thought that he would not be able to become a life and death realm warrior. Therefore, when the world was in chaos, he would be one of the most important people. Also, he had to thank Xiaofeng Scent Drizzle for tipping him 20,000 Qijian coins, and Watermelon Skin N0 for tipping him 20,000 Qijian coins. Chapter 499. I have trained my Green Lotus Sword spell to the highest level, the 15th level. The purity and quantity of my Jin Yuan have increased a lot. I might as well go to the next level. Standing up, Yi Chen opened the door and walked out. The 16th level. The 17th level. The 21st level. Yi Chen arrived at the 21st level, which was close to the 22nd level. Inside the room, Yi Chen got rid of all the distracting thoughts and sat down again to train. After 3 days and 3 nights, Yi Chen had completely consolidated the 15th level of the Green Lotus Sword spell. The Blue Lotus Seed and Lotus Heart Sword Chi in his dantian were getting more and more condensed. Under the heavy pressure, he pushed his Jin Yuan with all his strength. He could even hear the sound of water flowing, which was the sign of extremely dense and pure Jin Yuan. Besides that, Yi Chen had finally trained his spirit body. Each of his movements contained the power of a great weapon, which greatly increased his defense and body's endurance. With the spirit body trained, my Green Lotus Sword spell has reached the highest level. Without using the Lotus Heart Sword Chi, my battling power would increase by around 20%, which would allow me to compete with the weakest spirit level warriors. Once I use a large amount of Lotus Heart Sword Chi and create a Sword Chi tornado, my battling power would increase drastically. After all, who would be able to perform multiple killing attacks at the same time, or even 10 at the same time? 1 or 2 Lotus Heart Sword Chi would not be scary, but when it was formed into a large scale, it would be horrifying. In fact, Yi Chen's current pure power was only equal to the weakest spirit-level warriors. However, if he performed the Lotus Heart Sword Chi, he would be able to kill normal spirit-level warriors. This was the advantage of the endless Lotus Heart Sword Chi. The time I promised with Brother Sun was 3 months. It has already been 3 days. Let's get out first. Before coming, Yi Chen and Sun Xiaojin had promised to come out together in 3 months. Of course, because of the possibility of a breakthrough, the first one to go out would have to wait outside for a week. Outside the tunnel, inside the palace, Sun Xiaojin sat on the ground with his legs crossed. Yeah, I'm out. Sun Xiaojin opened his eyes and looked at Yi Chen, who had just walked out of the tunnel. Yi Chen said apologetically, Brother Sun, sorry to keep you waiting. No problem, it has only been 3 days. You broke through. Sun Xiaojin could tell with a single glance that Yi Chen's aura and physique had become much more powerful than before. This underwater spiral passageway is indeed mysterious. It uses pressure to force out one's potential, allowing one to achieve twice the result with half the effort. I come here once every half a year, and it's rare for me to have a breakthrough. I didn't expect you to be able to improve so quickly on your first visit. You're really abnormal among humans. Sun Xiaojin was very shocked at Yi Chen's training speed. What kind of person is this? He gets stronger every once in a while. If I don't work harder, I will be surpassed by him sooner or later. Sun Xiaojin was a prideful person. Becoming the Beast King had always been his goal. He had always thought that he would be able to walk in front of the young generation and be the best. Therefore, even though his grandpa Sun Tai had high hopes for Yi Chen, he had only thought that Yi Chen's potential was close to his, and had not reached his level yet. But now, he no longer thought so. This human genius was definitely the most horrifying genius he had ever met. Yi Chen smiled and looked outside the hall. He asked curiously, why is there no one here? Sun Xiaojin frowned, I don't know either. Maybe something big happened. Let's get back to the water ape cave as soon as possible. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go. Walking out of the hall and leaving the gray light cover, the two flew toward the water ape cave at their fastest speed. Half a day later, the two arrived at the cave. You guys are back. Come to my place. A voice reached the two's ears. It was the leader of the water ape race, Sun Tai. Yi Chen and Sun Xiaojin exchanged a look, then walked toward the stone hall behind the stone room. Inside the stone hall, Sun Tai was sitting on top. Sun Xiaojin asked, Grandpa, what happened? Sun Tai forced a smile, there is a battle. Is it the deep-sea power? Sun Xiaojin obviously knew something. Indeed. This time, they came with a lot of energy. I'm afraid they are preparing for a long battle. The Alliance has already started to deploy troops in the underwater plateau. My water ape race has also sent a team of 500 people. The leader is your second Grandpa Sun, and the second and third leaders are your first and third Grandpa Kong. Yi Chen did not understand, Senior Sun, what is this battle and the deep-sea power? Is it very dangerous? Sun Tai explained, indeed. Sun Tai explained, the 30 million miles of the true spirit continent's ocean is the shallow ocean, and beyond that is the deep ocean. In between the two is a circle of underwater plateaus. The deep ocean is extremely vast, and does not have much contact with our shallow ocean. But, it is not absolute either. Some of the deep ocean powers near the shallow ocean have always been eyeing the shallow ocean's geographical location, wanting to take over the shallow ocean. Of course, our shallow ocean powers would not allow that. Every few years, we would have a battle with them. There are too many shallow ocean powers in the south, and we do not have enough cohesiveness. Therefore, we have gradually formed the South Shallow Ocean Alliance. The main purpose of the alliance is to gather everyone's power together and fight against the deep ocean powers. It has been 100 years since the last battle. I see. However, Yi Chen could not understand what was so good about the shallow sea that the deep sea powers would not hesitate to start a war. Perhaps seeing through Yi Chen's question, Sun Tai continued, in the boundless ocean, there is only one true spirit continent. As far as everyone knows, the true spirit continent is a treasure. The shallow sea next to the true spirit continent is naturally the best place for the deep sea powers to use as a springboard. Of course, the most important thing is that the closer one is to the continent, the more spirit veins there will be, and the more treasures there will be. Although the deep sea also has spirit veins and treasures, they are too scattered and hard to find. Plus, there are too many natural dangers. Sun Shaojin said at this moment, "Grandpa, I want to join the battle." Hearing him, Sun Tai smiled and said, "I called you here to ask you if you want to join the battle. Don't worry, although the scale of this battle is huge, most of the time, it will just be small skirmishes, wearing out the other side's power. It will not be too intense. If there are no accidents, this battle will last at least 10 years. And in these 10 years, it will be the best time for you young generation to train yourselves. You should not have seen a battle between rank 7 and 8 beasts and astral reaching realm warriors, right? This is a good opportunity. In that case, Yi Chen would also like to see it." Yi Chen knew that the scale of this battle was huge, and it was definitely rare. The battles between countries would be made up of mortal realm warriors, while the battles between the shallow sea powers and the deep sea powers would be made up of rank 7 and 8 beasts and astral reaching realm warriors. How could Yi Chen not go and see it? The scene of the parallel space battlefield was still vivid in Yi Chen's mind. It was a battle that even king warriors would participate in. Although it was said that before the world was in chaos, king warriors would not participate in the battle, but it was perfect for Yi Chen. If there were king warriors joining, he would have to think about it. "Yeah, it will not be just you two. I have already selected a team of 30 warriors from the water ape race. They are all young water apes, and you two will be the leaders. Xiao Jin, although you are very powerful, you are too hot-tempered. Therefore, you can be the leader. The one making the decisions will be Yi Chen. Yi Chen, are you willing to be the second leader of this team?" Sun Tai looked at Yi Chen. Yi Chen said with a bit of hesitation, "Senior son, the battle is merciless. I am afraid that I might not be able to let them all come back alive." He could not help but worry, since the water ape race was very small in number. If one died, there would be one less. They were not like humans, who could be squandered as they pleased. Ha! Sun Tai laughed out loud. "You don't have to worry about that. Since I have sent them, I have already prepared for them to be wiped out. My only request is that you two try not to risk your lives too much and come back alive. I have no other requests. Powerful warriors have to go through life and death situations. What kind of small shrimps would come out in peace? The second leader will be Yi Chen." Hearing Sun Tai's words, Yi Chen naturally did not have any burden in his heart. "All right, all of you, come out." Sun Tai looked to the side of the stone palace. Swoosh! A group of young water apes walked out. The lowest was at the 7th rank, and there were 10 who had reached the 8th rank. Kong Xiaowei was one of them. "Listen up, Xiao Jin will be your leader, and Yi Chen will be your second leader. During the battle, Xiao Jin will be the leader, and before the battle, Yi Chen will be the leader. Whoever dares to disobey will be punished according to the clan rules. Do you all understand?" "Understood." The voices of the 30 young water apes were like thunder. Nodding satisfactorily, Sun Tai waved his hand. The wall behind the stone palace suddenly cracked open, revealing a conveyor gate inside. This conveyor gate was built 2 weeks ago. The teleportation point is at the underwater plateau. The conveyor gate there is controlled by our Shallow Sea Alliance. You can go now. Grandpa, I will go now. Senior son, goodbye. Sun Shaojin and Yi Chen led the 30 people into the conveyor gate. Who? The group disappeared without a trace. Waiting until everyone had left, Sun Tai sighed, he is indeed worthy of being a true dragon-level martial genius. His improvement is too fast. Compared to him, Shaojin is really lacking. Plus, this kid is not as simple as he looks. His potential is immeasurable. No one knows where the limit of his potential is. The underwater plateau was the boundary between the shallow sea and the deep sea. It was 50,000 meters tall and 1,000,000 miles wide, looking like a giant ancient dragon in the ocean. On the side of the plateau near the deep sea, a large number of sea beasts gathered there. These sea beasts were different from the normal ones, seeming to be even more ferocious. The small ones were only a couple of meters in size, while the big ones were thousands of meters in size. The evil chi they emitted gathered together, causing the seawater to be extremely turbid. On the side of the plateau near the shallow sea was the army of the Southern Shallow Sea Alliance. Among the army, 10% were humans, and 90% were sea beasts. Be it the humans or the sea beasts, they all had a trace of the same aura ripple. This aura ripple was emitted from the tag, which was the most effective way for the Southern Shallow Sea Alliance to distinguish between friend and foe. After all, once the battle broke out, the shallow sea beasts would be easily confused with the deep sea beasts. Who? Behind a 500-man water ape team, the conveyor gate lit up. 32 figures walked out, led by Sun Shaojin and Yi Chen. Shaojin, you are here. The rank 10 water ape's second master Sun walked over and handed out the tags. Sun Shaojin said, Second master Sun, how many troops do we have? More than 200,000 in total. Hearing him, Yi Chen took a deep breath. 200,000 troops. This was not an army made up of rank 1 or 2 sea beasts and mortal realm warriors, but rank 7 or 8 sea beasts and astral-reaching realm warriors. 200,000 of them. What kind of concept was that? Dong! 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 All of a sudden, a huge drumming sound was heard, spreading out in all directions. Even the seawater started to vibrate, layer upon layer. The battle had begun. Chapter 500. The leader told you to come here to train. But, the battlefield is heartless. If you rush out alone, you won't be able to survive for more than a blink of an eye. Right now, you should follow behind us and attack together. Wait until the two sides collide, then you can move separately. Second Master Sun reminded Sun Shaojin and Yi Chen. Yi Chen faintly nodded. Although he had never experienced such a large-scale war, even if he had never eaten pork, he had seen a pig run. The war was not about one-on-one battles. When there was some distance between the two armies, they would launch wave after wave of long-range attacks. Imagine thousands of attacks, what kind of scene would that be? Perhaps even master-level warriors would not be able to survive. All right. Let's go. Second Master Sun, Elder Kong, and Third Master Sun all roared and rushed out with 500 water apes. Sun Shaojin, Yi Chen, and the rest of the young generation followed behind. Meanwhile, the army of the South Shallow Sea Alliance was like a dark cloud, launching a shocking attack. Although there were tens of thousands of people who stayed behind to protect the conveyor gate, there were hundreds of thousands of people who rushed out as well. Hundreds of thousands of sea beasts and humans were charging at the same time. That kind of scene was even more shocking. The sea water of the seabed plateau had completely exploded. On the surface of the sea, horrifying waves that were thousands of meters tall appeared. The two armies were less than 5,000 miles away from each other, and after 15 minutes, they could see each other. Attack! The commander of the Shallow Sea Alliance waved his hand and roared. Boom! 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 Tens of thousands of colorful beast power flows and Jin Yuan flows rushed out from the Shallow Sea Alliance's camp, covering the sky and the earth. Wherever they went, the seawater was evaporated directly, forming a huge vacuum. Their target was the army of the Deep Sea Alliance. The commander of the Deep Sea Force was a seahorse with a human head. He stood in the middle of the army, and his eyes that didn't look like a human's quickly turned red. While roaring, he signaled the army to attack crazily. He even took out an extra-large bow and used his demonic power to form an arm, shooting 10 arrows in a row. All of a sudden, a huge amount of beast power rushed toward the incoming beast power flows and Jin Yuan flows of the Shallow Sea Alliance. In the next second, it was like tens of thousands of deep-sea bombs exploding. The powerful shockwave shook the seabed plateau continuously. Fortunately, the plateau was filled with a huge amount of deep-sea earth chi, which was extremely sturdy. Only countless spider web-like cracks appeared on the plateau, but it was not damaged at all. At the border of the two armies, most of the chi flows cancelled each other out, while the rest went straight for the opposing army. Walala. On the Shallow Sea Alliance's side, hundreds of Alliance soldiers were annihilated. Their corpses were nowhere to be found. The Deep Sea Alliance's side wasn't any better. They had also lost hundreds of Deep Sea Alliance soldiers. Attack, don't stop. The commander of the Shallow Sea Alliance waved his arm, signaling them not to stop. There was still some distance between the two armies, and this distance was enough to kill more enemies. For a moment, only the sound of explosions could be heard. The turbulent seawater pushed in all directions, unable to withstand the pressure of the attacks. Frightening. In just one round of attacks, both sides have lost more than 1,000 soldiers. These soldiers were all astral-reaching experts, yet so many of them died in one go. Those who had never been to the battlefield would have no idea how terrifying the so-called battlefield was. Here, lives were like weeds, and blood flowed like rivers. If they wanted to survive, they had to move together. If they moved alone, they would definitely not be able to survive for more than a blink of an eye. The battle was still going on. More and more soldiers were falling down. Some were from the Shallow Sea Alliance, some were from the Deep Sea Forces. 5 Water Ape soldiers from the Water Ape clan had also died. 4 of them were rank 8 Water Apes and 1 was rank 9 Water Ape. Before they died, they didn't even have the time to scream. Damn it! Watching his people fall down without even leaving any bones behind, Sun Xiaojin's eyes were red like blood. A horrifying evil chi spread out in all directions, making him look like a peerless evil ape. Yi Chen had a cold look on his face. His body was surrounded by an invisible sharp chi. He waved out his sword, and 100-meter-long sword chi spread out, cutting apart the bodies of 5 deep-sea soldiers. Finally, the two armies clashed together. This time, it was like 2 meteors had collided. The number of dead and wounded soldiers was shocking. The aggressive blast wave spread out for hundreds of miles without stopping. Kill! Sun Xiaojin took the lead and rushed out, completely forgetting about Sun Tai's words. Yi Chen did not say anything. He turned his head and said, "Form the Water Ape battle formation. Do not move alone." Yes. Water apes had always been hot-tempered and impulsive, especially after seeing blood. They would not even be afraid of death. However, Yi Chen was the second leader appointed by the leader, and his decision-making power was even higher than that of the leader, Sun Xiaojin. Moreover, the sword chi emitted from Yi Chen's body was too intense, carrying an aura of slaughter. It made them nervous, and they did not dare to talk back. Kill! Like a meat grinder, the 30 water apes and Yi Chen charged out. Pooh! Pooh! The deep-sea soldiers were killed one after another, their blood splashing everywhere. In front of them, Sun Xiaojin had killed more deep-sea soldiers than Yi Chen and the rest combined. Every time he waved his dark blue iron stick, dozens of lives would be taken. His red eyes shot out horrifying beams of light. A Wu. A 10,000-meter-long deep-sea whale shark charged at Sun Xiaojin. It was a rank 9 ocean beast, and it was extremely talented and powerful. Expand! 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 Putting away his iron stick, Sun Xiaojin's body instantly expanded to 3,000 meters tall. He threw out a punch that contained wind, fire, thunder, and water, shattering the deep-sea whale shark into pieces. Little bastard, you're courting death. The water apes were not the only ones who knew how to talk. In fact, as long as the ocean beasts wanted to, they could learn how to talk. It was not hard at all. A rank 9 deep-sea serpent spoke human language as its 10,000-meter-long body coiled around Sun Xiaojin, tightly strangling him. Roar! Sun Xiaojin roared towards the sky, revealing his sharp teeth. He grabbed the deep-sea serpent's body with both of his hands and exerted his strength, forcibly tearing it apart. The deep-sea serpent had a strong life force. Even after its body was torn apart, its upper body still coiled around Sun Xiaojin's body. Its hill-sized head bit on his head, wanting to swallow him whole. However, Sun Xiaojin's defense was just as powerful as his battle power. The deep-sea serpent bit down, and one of its teeth was immediately broken. Burning sparks flew everywhere, as if they were smashing iron. A loud clanging sound rang out, shaking the deep-sea serpent to the point of dizziness. Seizing the opportunity, Sun Xiaojin's huge right hand grabbed the deep-sea serpent's neck, his fingernails digging deep into it. With a cracking sound, the deep-sea serpent's head was separated from its body. The upper half of its body drooped down, leaving only its head on Sun Xiaojin's head. Taking off the head, Sun Xiaojin smashed it with one punch, his ominous qi spreading everywhere. Whoosh! A cyan-colored sword qi with a hint of gold in it sliced through the ocean water. Wherever the sword qi passed, the ocean water was instantly annihilated, leaving a 3,000 meters long sword mark. All of the deep-sea soldiers within the range of the sword mark were shaken to death. The defense that they were so proud of did not have much of an effect under the mysterious vibrating power. With his soul power on alert, Yi Chen spared some time to observe the surrounding situation. It was chaotic, extremely chaotic. Almost every inch of space was being ravaged by qi. Countless soldiers were fighting in every area. Some were fighting in groups of 3 to 5, some were fighting in groups, some were fighting in battle formations, and some were attacking each other. At this moment, even the shockwaves could not be discharged smoothly, and they filled the battlefield. Kill them! A group of iron shell lobsters stared at Yi Chen and the 30 water apes. These iron shell lobsters had huge bodies and black shells. Their huge pincers were dozens of meters long, which could easily tear apart the bodies of the Alliance soldiers. The leading iron shell lobster was a rank 10-1. The beast power inside its body did not need to explode out intentionally, but it was already able to cause the surrounding ocean water to shake violently. Maintain the battle formation and work together. Yi Chen only had one order. After speaking, he rushed toward the leading iron shell lobster. Boom! The two sides clashed together, causing the qi power to explode. 13 humans have already died in my hands. You will be the 14th. The rank 10 iron shell lobster waved its huge pincer, smashing toward Yi Chen's head. Using sword steps, Yi Chen dodged the attack like a sword light. He then stabbed out with the long sword in his hand, causing a dot of cyan light to appear on the tip of the sword. Swoosh! The protective beast power of the iron shell lobster was penetrated, and a sword hole appeared on its back. Blue blood kept flowing out. The iron shell lobster was a bit surprised. Its tail suddenly flicked, blowing away Yi Chen's longsword. Yi Chen used the momentum to spin his body and shoot out waves of Lotus Heart Sword Qi. Each sword Qi's power was equal to the 9th movement of the Green Lotus Sword Art, Amaranthine Nature. No. The iron shell lobster was terrified. He could feel the power of the lotus heart sword chi, so his protective beast power was increased to its limit. A pair of huge pincers crossed, protecting his chest and head. Swoosh! 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 The sword chi tornado created by the lotus heart sword chi was too horrifying. The protective beast power of the iron shell lobster was broken into hundreds of holes, and the extremely tough pincers could not handle the continuous attacks of the sword chi either. They were all cut off within a second. In the next second, dozens of lotus heart sword chi pierced through the eyes, forehead, and mouth of the iron shell lobster. After killing the iron shell lobster, Yi Chen did not care too much. Although it was at rank 10, there were strong and weak ones among the rank 10 sea beasts. The iron shell lobster's battling power was at most the same as a normal spirit warrior, or even slightly weaker. Only its defense was a bit stronger. Ah! On the other side, 3 of the 30 young water apes had been killed. Go to hell! Kong Xiaowei rushed out of the battle formation, his eyes bloodthirsty. Go back! Yi Chen came back in time and pushed Kong Xiaowei back to his original position. At the same time, a new round of lotus heart sword chi blossomed, and the sword chi tornado ravaged the group of iron shell lobsters. Pooh! 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 Even the rank 10 iron shell lobsters could not handle the sword chi tornado of Yi Chen, not to mention the rank 7 and 8 iron shell lobsters. All of a sudden, more than 50 iron shell lobsters had been shredded into pieces by the sword chi tornado. Not even their bones were left behind. Putting away the pellet, Yi Chen was just about to scold Kong Xiaowei when the sound of the horn was heard. Hearing the sound, the soldiers of the South Shallow Ocean Alliance started to back out. The soldiers of the Deep Ocean did not chase after them either, and started to back out as well. The first battle had ended just like that. Chapter 501. Inside the camp of the water ape race, the second master saw that Sun Xiaojin and Yi Chen had returned safely, so he let out a breath and asked, "Did any of you fall?" Kong Xiaowei said with a sad face, "Sun Xinqi, Kong Xiaoxia, and Kong Xiaoyan are all dead." Kong Xiaoyan was his lover, which was why he had been so impulsive. The second master sighed, "There will definitely be deaths in the war. Right now, the alliance is counting the casualties. But, we water ape race lost 43 warriors, and you only lost 3. It is already out of my expectation." Kong Xiaowei glanced at Yi Chen. If it were not for him, he would have been dead for sure, and a lot of the other young water apes would have died as well. After half an hour, the death toll had been tallied. A total of 8,545 soldiers had died, which was about 1/30 of the entire army. Among them, there were more than 300 rank 9 sea beasts, 20 rank 10 sea beasts, and nearly 40 Sea of Soul realm experts. This is so cruel. One battle and so many rank 9 and 10 beasts have died, as well as Sea of Souls realm warriors. If they were grouped together, they would be able to take out dozens of rank 6 martial institutions. But, this amount of casualties should be nothing for the South Shallow Ocean Alliance, right? After all, there are more than 3,000 different forces in the South Shallow Ocean Alliance, including 6 rank 5 forces. The South Shallow Ocean was about 1/3 of the whole True Spirit continent. So, it was not hard to imagine how many of them would survive. Letting out a breath, Yi Chen looked at the water apes in the camp, wondering how many of them would survive after the battle. Of course, he would not be able to see it. This battle would last at least 3 to 5 years, and it might even last for 10 to 20 years. He would not be able to stay here for a long time. Once he stabilized his power completely and could not make another breakthrough, it would be time for him to go back to the continent. The first battle was huge, so there were a lot of casualties. In the following period of time, the scale of the battles had decreased a lot, and they were all small fights. You would send out a team to attack, and the other would send out a team to harass you. The two sides were very patient. 62. Yi Chen carved 6 yuan characters on the wooden board of the camp. The seventh one only had 2 strokes, so there were 62 of them in total, which meant that he had killed 62 enemies. This was the tradition of the Water Ape clan, and also the proof of hard work. Turning his head to look at Sun Xiaojin's wooden board, Yi Chen shook his head and smiled bitterly. Sun Xiaojin was indeed a battle maniac. The number of enemies he had killed was more than twice of his own. In just 2 months of fighting, he had killed more than 140 people, and most of them were killed in the first battle. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! An ear-piercing sound reverberated in the vicinity. All the water apes rushed out, their bodies surrounded by murderous auras, and their eyes were bloodshot. Yi Chen was not too nervous. He had experienced this kind of sneak attack several times. Second Grandpa's son had also led them to sneak attack the deep-sea forces twice. Because there were way too many Alliance soldiers, and they were scattered all over the place, sometimes, when one camp was attacked, the other camps would not be able to get there in time. By the time they got there, the enemies would have already left. Therefore, when they were attacked, they would have to fight back with all their might and wait for the reinforcements. Or, if they were powerful enough, they would not need reinforcements. But, if they were not powerful enough, and the enemies were too powerful, the result would be very miserable. After all, the enemies had chosen to sneak attack, so they would definitely bring a lot of warriors with them. There were over 1,000 bloodthirsty octopuses charging over. The bloodthirsty octopuses' bodies were as big as mountains, and their 8 tentacles were incredibly long. The most terrifying thing was that even if the bloodthirsty octopus's tentacles were cut off, they would continue to grow, giving them a trace of an undying body. Boom! However, the first one to attack was not the bloodthirsty octopuses, but Sun Xiaojin in his battle mode. His body was 3,000 meters tall, and with one punch, wind, fire, thunder, and water gathered together. One of the octopuses did not have the time to dodge or defend, and was turned into pieces directly. The rest of the octopuses were furious. Their bodies were surrounded by the blood-red beast power, and countless tentacles attacked. You are looking for death. Although the octopuses were hard to deal with, there was more than just one camp of the water ape race. There were 7 or 8 camps nearby, and the total number of soldiers was almost 1,500, which was a bit more than the octopuses. Therefore, seeing the octopuses attack, all of them fought back. Shoo! Yi Chen waved out a sword attack, and the sword chi cut off a huge number of octopus tentacles. These octopuses found out that after being cut off, their tentacles could not be recovered right away, as if something was draining their life force away. The more I kill, the more powerful my slaughter element is. On the battlefield, Yi Chen would only use his slaughter sword intent. He rarely used his destruction sword intent and immortal sword intent, because the slaughter sword intent would not be any weaker than the other 2 sword intents. It would be much easier for him to deal with the ocean beasts. Plus, after a long time of killing, Yi Chen's slaughter element seemed to have changed a bit. The killing chi contained within it seemed to be something that even the octopuses, which had super recovery abilities, could not do anything to. Shoo! Another sword chi shot out, and another 2 octopuses were cut into pieces. This battle did not last for long. After about 15 minutes, the octopuses left behind dozens of dead bodies and retreated quickly, which prevented the reinforcement forces from attacking. In the blink of an eye, 8 months had passed. Including the first 2 months, this battle had been going on for a full 10 months. The number of casualties on both sides was more than 50,000. Do not underestimate this number, because in these 10 months, there had only been 3 large-scale battles. One was on the first day, one was 4 months ago, and one was 3 days ago. The rest of the time, they were just probing each other. After each probing, the number of casualties was at most a few hundred, and at least a dozen. Moreover, there might not even be a probing battle in a week. Therefore, out of the 50,000 casualties, more than half were caused by these three large-scale battles. Inside the water ape race's camp, Yi Chen had carved 32 yuan characters on his wooden board, which meant that he had killed 320 enemies, while Sun Xiaojin had killed 550 enemies. It was easy to see that the gap between Yi Chen and Sun Xiaojin was shrinking. At the beginning, Sun Xiaojin had killed twice as many enemies as Yi Chen, but now, it was not even twice as much. Inside the soundproof tent belonging to Yi Chen was sitting on the ground with his legs crossed, meditating with his eyes closed. His body was shrouded in a murderous aura. This aura was formless and formless, traceless and traceless. However, a single glance at it would definitely cause one to shiver. This aura was too terrifying. It was as if it could invade one's mind, cutting one's soul and killing one's life. Who? All of a sudden, the killing chi fluctuated and poured into Yi Chen's forehead. Inside the sea of soul, all of the killing chi rushed in, each strand after strand of it was imprinted on an ancient longsword sword spirit embryo. As the killing chi continued to imprint, the ancient longsword started to change. Not only did the sword body gradually turn a bloodthirsty red, but the sword intent radiance it was emitting also changed from silver to light red. It was the color of killing, the color of cruelty. As the killing chi completely imprinted on the ancient longsword, the sea of soul nearby fluctuated again, and a new ancient longsword was born. Chapter 502. Slaughter Sword Soul Embryo. Two great sword soul embryos. Yi Chen opened his eyes, and 2-foot-long beams of light shot out. Originally, Yi Chen's sword soul embryo was just an ordinary sword soul embryo, which was no different from other sword artists. However, Yi Chen had mastered 3 great sword intents, which were Immortal, Destruction, and Slaughter. These 3 great sword intents were hidden in his sea of soul, and with a single thought, he could brand them on his sword intents. However, it was precisely because of the additional sword intents in his sea of soul that it was extremely difficult to improve the sword soul embryo. It was as if something was hindering him from cultivating the sword soul embryo and achieving higher achievements in the sword Dao. But now, the slaughter intents hidden in his sea of soul had been completely branded on the sword soul embryo. In the future, when Yi Chen activated the slaughter sword soul embryo, it would directly be the slaughter sword intent, a pure slaughter sword intent. The immortal and destruction intents could no longer interfere with it. Of course, because it was a pure slaughter sword intent, its power was much stronger than before, and it had leapt to become the head of Yi Chen's sword intents. As for the other 2 intents, it was not that he could not use them for the time being, because another sword soul embryo had appeared in his sea of soul. This sword soul embryo was still an ordinary sword soul embryo, and the sword intent it could activate was also an ordinary sword intent. Therefore, the immortal and destruction intents could be branded on the sword soul embryo at any time. The slaughter intents are already so powerful. If I brand the destruction intents on the sword soul embryo in the future, wouldn't it be even more powerful? The immortal intents is the head of the 3 great intents, and it has an indelible effect. The reason why I can be so powerful in the sword soul embryo is all because of the immortal intents. With it, my foundation is incomparably firm. I wonder what will happen if I brand it on the sword soul embryo. Yi Chen would never forget the power of the immortal attribute. It allowed him to condense a sword soul embryo in advance, allowing him to smoothly receive the slaughter sword intent impact of the dual sword king's will image, allowing him to resist the destruction sword intent impact of the iron sword king's will image. Without the immortal attribute, his life would have been completely different, and he would have walked on a completely different path. However, the strangest thing is that my soul is able to bear 2 great sword soul embryos. One is the slaughter sword soul embryo, and the other is a normal sword soul embryo. If there is no accident, when the destruction element is imprinted on the normal sword soul embryo, there will be another normal sword soul embryo. No wonder I have never heard of anyone who has 2 sword intents. Because two sword intents will condense into two sword soul embryos. How can the soul bear it? As for me, I should be an exception. Regardless of whether he was an exception or not, Yi Chen clearly knew that his path of willpower was the correct one. On this path, he was the king. Who? After participating in the battle for 10 months, it should be about time for me to go back. Sun Xiaojin and the other young water apes will also have to go back alive. As for what happens in the future, it has nothing to do with me. Thinking up to here, Yi Chen walked out of the tent. One day later, Yi Chen, Sun Xiaojin, and the surviving young water apes returned to the water ape cave through the conveyor gate. You are leaving? Inside the stone palace, Sun Tai was not surprised to hear the news. Yi Chen nodded and said, I have left the continent for almost 15 months. I have to go back. Adding the 2 months of training in Thunder City and the time spent on the road, it had been 18 months since the last tea gathering. 18 months was 1.5 years. In another half a year, it would be the date of the next tea gathering. This time, he would be the host. All right then. Be careful on the way, and do not be careless. Also, if you run into any trouble, my water ape race will help as much as possible. Sun Tai reminded. Many thanks for senior son's concern. Yi Chen will be careful. As for my 2 friends, I'll have to trouble the water ape race to take care of them. At this moment, Sun Xiaojin said, True Spirit Continent, I will go. I hope the next time I see you, we can fight to our heart's content. Of course. In that case, Yi Chen will take his leave. Leaving the water ape cave, Yi Chen arrived in the sky above the boundless ocean. Taking out his flying puppet, he leaped up and sat cross-legged. Shwa! The flying puppet flew at 10 times the speed of sound, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. 1 month later, South Rudra region, Sky Cloud Sect, the Cool Breeze Mountain where the Sky Cloud Sect was located was the same as usual. The disciples who were doing missions were doing them, and those who were cultivating in an orderly manner. On the way up the mountain, there were many disciples coming and going, all chatting. Ever since Supreme Elder Yi Chen won the first place in the Hidden Dragon ranking, our Sky Cloud Sect's luck has been getting more and more prosperous. In the past few years, we've had 9 new Supreme Elders. The former Elder Luo Hanshan has also become the sect leader, and the former sect leader has abdicated, becoming the Supreme Elder. Adding the original 3 Supreme Elders, our Sky Cloud Sect has 12 Supreme Elders in total, more than the Emerald Valley. Yeah. The Emerald Valley has 3 more Supreme Elders, which is far inferior to us. The North Snow Academy is a bit more impressive, having 4 more. Our Sky Cloud Sect became a 7th grade sect a year ago. I don't know when we'll become a 6th grade sect. After all, the higher we go, the more Supreme Elders we'll have, which is a bit inappropriate. Once we become a 6th grade sect, the Supreme Elders will become inner sect elders. This is too difficult. A 6th grade sect must have enough astral reaching experts. Our Sky Cloud Sect is still lacking. Most importantly, a 6th grade sect must have a Sea of Soul Realm expert. No rush. Supreme Elder Yi Chen is 24 years old this year. In a few years, he will certainly become a Sea of Soul Realm expert. At that time, our Sky Cloud Sect will have enough astral reaching experts. Naturally, we will become a 6th grade sect and become the 7th 6th grade sect in the whole South Rudra region. As a disciple of the Sky Cloud Martial School, everyone was very proud. The current Sky Cloud Martial School was too powerful. There were 12 Supreme Elders, more than 200 Inner Elders, and more than 500 Outer Elders. There were still a few core disciples, but there were more than 2,000 inner disciples, and more than 10,000 outer disciples. Compared to the past, the strength of the Sky Cloud Martial School was more than doubled. And the source of all this was Yi Chen. Without Yi Chen, the Sky Cloud Sect wouldn't have such a bright fate. Without Yi Chen, there wouldn't be so many people joining the sect. Without Yi Chen, the disciples wouldn't be so diligent. After all, everyone in Windy Nation and even the whole South Rudra region was trying their best to catch up to Yi Chen. How could the disciples of the Sky Cloud sect be willing to fall behind? One Yi Chen had transformed the entire Sky Cloud sect. If the founder of the sect were to come back to life, he would probably be scared to death. It was too astonishing. Swish! At the end of the horizon, a black shadow was approaching at an extreme speed. In the blink of an eye, it was still far away, but in the blink of an eye, the disciples ascending and descending the mountain could already see its true form. It was a huge demonic beast. The aura emitted from its body was several times stronger than that of the Supreme Elders. Especially its speed, it was several times faster than the speed of sound. As for how many times the speed of sound, they couldn't even guess. It was unimaginably fast. What kind of demonic beast is this? Is it coming to attack the Sky Cloud sect? Hurry up and report. This demonic beast is at least peak 8th grade, equivalent to a peak late astral reaching expert. Hearing these words, all the disciples turned pale. No, there's someone up there. It's a blue-robed youngster with a long sword at his waist. His appearance is delicate and handsome. How come he looks so much like the Supreme Elder Yi Chen? I think so too. Although most of the disciples in the Sky Cloud Martial School had never seen Yi Chen, it did not stop them from seeing Yi Chen's portrait. With Yi Chen's fame, how could he not have a portrait? Especially in the Sky Cloud Martial School, it was not difficult to see Yi Chen's portrait. As for the Ancestral Hall, it had only been built a few years ago. Inside, there were portraits of the previous patriarchs of the Sky Cloud Martial School. Yi Chen was the only person who was not the patriarch, but still had his portrait in the Ancestral Hall. It's Great Elder Yi Chen. Look at his sleeves, there's our Sky Cloud Martial School's cloud pattern there. Plus his appearance, who else could it be other than Great Elder Yi Chen? Supreme Elder Yi Chen is back. The people who saw this scene went crazy and ran up the mountain desperately. Idle Cloud Peak. Cloud Dreamer and Thunder Freer walked out side by side. Next to them was Luo Xinglia, who was also a Supreme Elder. What a powerful sword chi. I've never seen such a sword chi in my life. It's even more powerful than ordinary Sea of Soul Realm experts. Cloud Dreamer sucked in a deep breath. Who could it be? Thunder Freer said solemnly. Swish. The huge demonic beast's flying speed was as fast as a shooting star. After a few blinks, it appeared above the idle cloud peak. Then, it suddenly disappeared, and a blue silhouette descended. It's not a demonic beast. Could it be a puppet? Luo Xinglia was astonished. A real demonic beast couldn't be stored in a storage ring. Senior Cloud Dreamer, Senior Thunder Freer, Patriarch, Yi Chen is back. The blue silhouette was like a phantom as it appeared in front of the three. It's Yi Chen. Cloud Dreamer's eyes widened. Yi Chen, you're back. Thunder Freer was stunned at first, then burst into laughter. Supreme Elder Yi Chen is back. We just saw him. Are you serious? He hasn't been back for so many years. Why would I lie to you? Let's go take a look. All of a sudden, the whole Sky Cloud sect's atmosphere exploded. This kind of scene was even more frightening than the night before a great battle. 1 to 1, 100 to 100. In less than a quarter of an hour, everyone knew that Yi Chen had returned. Sky Cloud sect's main hall, Luo Hanshan cried out involuntarily, What? Yi Chen is back. Swish. In the next moment, Luo Hanshan left the elders in the main hall and rushed toward the idle cloud peak. He knew that Yi Chen would go there first. Yi Chen is back. Zhang Haoran and Wu Zongming exchanged a glance and hurriedly left the main hall. Yi Chen, it's really you. As soon as he arrived at the idle cloud peak, Luo Hanshan saw Yi Chen. He was still wearing blue robes, still handsome and elegant. The only thing that had changed was his temperament. What kind of temperament was this? Although he was trying to hide it, that invisible sword qi still made Luo Hanshan's scalp go numb. Not only him, even Cloud Dreamer, Thunder Freer, and Luo Xinglie seemed a bit reserved next to Yi Chen. It had nothing to do with identity or friendship. This was the first time they had met each other. Yi Chen smiled, "Congratulations on becoming the leader of Sky Cloud sect." Chapter 503. Lu Hanshan shook his head and forced a smile. "If it were possible, I would rather someone else be the leader. But, my talent is only a so-so. I might have the chance to reach the peak of late astral reaching realm in this lifetime, but I will never be able to reach the Sea of Souls realm. Even the top geniuses of the continent need many years to reach the Sea of Souls realm. Even if I were given 20 or 30 years, I would still not be able to reach the Sea of Souls realm." Lu Hanshan had thought for a long time about whether he should be the leader or not, but he eventually agreed. Not everyone could progress as fast as Yi Chen, and not everyone could become the leader of the sect by working hard. He was already very satisfied with his current achievements. Yi Chen said, "You should be the leader of the sect. In the future, if there is an opportunity for me, it might not be the same for you." Lu Hanshan was currently at the peak of early astral reaching realm, and astral reaching realm warriors had a lifespan of 200 years. There was still a long way to go. Who would dare to say that he would stop at the astral reaching realm for the rest of his life? Of course, the hope of reaching the Sea of Souls realm was indeed very slim, and nobody could deny this fact. "Thank you for your kind words." Soon, Zhu Mei, Zhang Haoren, and Wu Zongming arrived. Zhu Mei and Zhang Haoren had already reached the astral reaching realm. The former was at the mid-astral reaching realm, while the latter was at the peak of early astral reaching realm. As for Wu Zongming, he was still at the peak of late clasping yuan realm. Zhu Mei and Zhang Haoren faintly nodded to the three supreme elders. Their status was similar, so nodding at each other was a greeting. Wu Zongming, on the other hand, called them supreme elders. Finally, the three's gazes landed on Yi Chen. This aura. It is not like the Sea of Souls realm. It is even more powerful. Zhu Mei's cultivation was even higher than Lu Hanshan's, and was at the same level as Cloud Dreamer and Thunder Freer. With her exceptional eyesight, she could tell that Yi Chen was not ordinary at all. 2 years ago, she was fortunate enough to meet a Sea of Souls realm warrior, but his aura was clearly not as powerful as Yi Chen's. "You three, long time no see. You've all made great progress." Yi Chen was also sizing up the three at the same time and said with a smile. Zhu Mei jokingly said, "Do you know how shocked South River region and Windy Nation were when the news of you defeating astral spirit Sun Chu Zhongtian and drawing a tie with Edict Prince Li Xiaoyun spread? A lot of people are saying that you are a true dragon, and that you are the #1 genius of South River region. Right now, all the big sects have your portrait, and only the core disciples are allowed to see it to motivate them." Wu Zongming also said with a smile, "That's right. Now, as long as I wander around in the martial world, people will come to befriend me and ask about you. Zhang Haoren is even more miserable. The story of you competing with him has become a legend in the martial world. People say that you walked over the corpses of geniuses." Zhang Haoren's mouth twitched, but he was not unhappy, because he had long since given up on competing with Yi Chen. In fact, people talking about him and Yi Chen together was already praising him. His biggest goal from now on was to step into the Sea of Souls realm, and he would work hard for it. Yi Chen suddenly sighed. 9 years had passed in the blink of an eye. 9 years ago, he was still an odd-job disciple, not even an outer disciple. Then, he climbed up step by step. Outer disciple, inner disciple, elder, supreme elder. The past was like a dream, vivid in his mind. 9 years had passed, and everyone had grown up. At least, they could no longer be described as youngsters. Thinking back to the past, how could Yi Chen not sigh with emotion? He sighed at how the passage of time had changed everyone, turning them from ignorant youngsters into ambitious youngsters. The only thing that made Yi Chen a bit helpless was that everyone seemed a lot more distant when they met again. Luo Hanshan, Zhu Mei, Wu Zongming, and Zhang Haoren were all like strangers. Although they still looked the same on the surface, Yi Chen's observational ability was extremely sharp. He could tell with a glance that they were a bit uneasy. This time, apart from checking on the situation of the martial school and you guys, the second thing is to prepare for the next martial tea gathering. Retracting his sigh, Yi Chen said. Luo Hanshan's eyes brightened, we can participate in the martial tea gathering. He naturally knew that he was not powerful enough, but Yi Chen was the host of the next martial tea gathering. Perhaps, as long as he agreed, he would be able to let them participate. Who didn't know what it meant to participate in the martial tea gathering? Not only could it broaden one's vision, it could also stimulate one's hidden potential. Through some rumors, he knew that people from the South Rudra region who had participated in the last martial tea gathering had trained extremely hard and made great progress after coming back. Yi Chen shook his head, the martial tea gathering has its own rules, which cannot be broken. Otherwise, in the long run, the level of the martial tea gathering would drop. Hearing him, Luo Hanshan, Zhu Mei, and even Zhang Haoren were a bit sad. Indeed, the martial tea gathering was not a place to open a back door. However, the host of the martial tea gathering has a special privilege. He can choose 50 people to watch the tea gathering from afar. In the last tea gathering, there were 50 people watching the tea gathering from a tower in the splendid garden. Of course, they were 10 li away from the venue. However, this distance was still acceptable for astral reaching experts. It was just that they couldn't get a closer feel of the atmosphere, that's all. Really, I should be able to be chosen. Luo Hanshan was extremely nervous. Cloud Dreamer and the other two couldn't help but laugh. The current Luo Hanshan didn't look like the leader at all. But, it was understandable, since he was still young. Yi Chen didn't answer directly, but asked, how many people in my Sky Cloud sect who have already reached the astral reaching realm before the age of 30? Zhu Mei said, 4 in total. Me, Luo Hanshan, Zhang Haoren, and Meng Chong. There are also many people who have reached half-step Jin Yuan. Oh, Meng Chong has also reached the astral reaching realm. Yi Chen was a bit surprised, but soon felt relieved. Even Zhang Haoren had entered, so there was no reason for Meng Chong not to. His talent was even higher than Zhang Haoren's. Speaking of which, for astral reaching experts under the age of 30 was still a bit too little. But, that was because Yi Chen had set his sights too high, comparing the Sky Cloud sect to a rank 6 sect. For a rank 6 sect, for new astral reaching experts were indeed pitifully little. They would need at least a dozen. Wu Zongming, I'm sorry. Privilege is privilege, but privilege also has a bottom line. Yi Chen looked at Wu Zongming apologetically. Wu Zongming said carelessly, Yi Chen, I am not unhappy. Even if you asked me to go and watch, I would not go. Otherwise, people would say that our South Rudra region does not even have enough young astral reaching realm warriors, and that we brought a peak-level late-class Bing Yuan realm warrior. Hee, it's good that you think like that. Pausing for a second, Yi Chen said to Lu Hanshan and the other two, you four can go watch the martial tea gathering together. I will build a tower in the heavy mysterious mountain. Lu Hanshan let out a breath, then suddenly thought of something, Yi Chen, you rarely come back. Can you meet the disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School on the plaza? It won't take long, just a few words will do. You know, a lot of people have never seen you before, and they have always wanted to see you in person. Sure. Yi Chen hesitated for a second, then nodded. Meeting someone was a small thing for him, but it could satisfy thousands of people's wishes. Once in a while, it would be fine. On the huge plaza, there was an ocean of people. All the disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School had arrived, as well as attendants, outer elders, inner elders, leaders, and great elders. At this moment, the Sky Cloud Martial School was defenseless. Of course, no one would be stupid enough to invade the Sky Cloud Martial School. It's the great elder, Yi Chen. I finally got to see him in person. I'm so excited. So young. Only in his 20s. How great would it be if I could marry him? Being so close to a legendary figure, I feel like I'm dreaming. All the disciples of the Sky Cloud Martial School were so excited, and so were the elders. They felt like they had become much younger, especially when Yi Chen looked at them. Standing behind him were the leader of the school, Lu Hanshan, and 12 great elders. Yi Chen cleared his throat to calm everyone down. As if he had some kind of magic power, the previously noisy plaza suddenly quieted down. Even the sound of a needle dropping on the ground could be heard. 9 years ago, I was still a servant disciple. In the same year, I worked hard to become an outer disciple, then an inner disciple. Back then, I was just like you, working hard to become a powerful warrior. Now, I have already succeeded half of it, and I am working hard for the other half. Therefore, as long as you work hard, you can also succeed. Perhaps your achievements will be limited, but as long as you work hard, you will not regret it. Abruptly, Yi Chen pulled out his long sword. His blue robe and long hair fluttered in the air as he swung his sword towards the sky above the windy mountain. Boom! The sword chi swept across the sky, the clouds in the sky were torn apart, and the protective screen of the stunning sky was split open. At first glance, the sky seemed to have been completely split open by this sword attack. The crack was tens of thousands of meters long and tens of meters wide. Including the 12 great elders, everyone gasped in shock. What kind of power was this? Standing on the ground, he was able to split open the stunning sky with a single sword attack, causing the sky to change color and thunder to roar. Invisible sword chi coiled around Yi Chen's body. A gigantic dragon formed from dragon fountain chi rushed up from the base of the windy mountain and enveloped Yi Chen. Yi Chen glanced around and said, I hope that one day, all of you can reach this level. Do you have the confidence? Yes. Their voices reached to the sky and shook the entire area. Together with the gigantic dragon on Yi Chen's body, the scene became an eternal picture. Alright, today's meeting is over. You all work hard. After that, Yi Chen finished his speech. Next, Lu Hanshan started to disperse the crowd, even though many of them did not want to leave. At the same time, all of the martial institutions in the Windy Nation had sensed the change in the Sky Cloud Martial School. The Dragon Fountain Chi rushing up was way too powerful. In the South Rudra Martial School, Long Bai looked towards the direction of the Sky Cloud Martial School. He's actually able to make the Dragon Vein Chi appear. Just what level has he reached? Once the Dragon Fountain Chi left the hidden dragon ancient city, it would hide itself and no one would be able to sense it. But now, the whole area around the Sky Cloud Martial School had changed drastically. Dragon roars could be heard, and that dragon's power was even more shocking. Even Long Bai was shocked. No genius had ever made her lose her composure like this. A dragon has entered the ocean, a real dragon has entered the ocean. Long Bai sighed. North Snow Martial Academy. Lynch was staring at the southwest direction, where the Sky Cloud Martial School was located. The former leader of the North Snow Martial Academy, who was now the Great Elder, Shui Wuren, walked over and said, being able to live in the same era as him is your sorrow, but also your great fortune. As for the Emerald Martial Palace, more people were lost and felt bitter. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.